I normally do this one at music festivals and stuff that have slightly more robust sound systems than it seems your lecture theatre does. So we might have some intriguing technical quirks that evolve across the next 40 minutes. We're going to push on and try this anyway. Essentially what I'm going to try and do, I do these kind of storytelling things where I'm going to do a live sound mix and a live video mix to try and tell a story around the near future imaginaries of drone technologies. Essentially, we made a short film called In the Robot Skies that's set in a near future where drones are as ubiquitous as pigeons. And in this film, we see a network of drones that monitor the wayward youth of a London council estate. And we watch as a young girl has hacked and decorated her own drone, and she used it to pass notes to her boyfriend trapped in the tower opposite. Like kids in an old-fashioned classroom, they scribble messages on the drone, and they send it back and forth between the towers. So in this near-future city, drones are forming both agents of state surveillance, but they also become co-opted as the aerial vehicles through which two teenagers might fall in love. So I'm going to screen a kind of an abstract cut or edit of that film at some point across this 40 minutes, but really what I wanted to do was perform the film in some form in order to contextualize the technologies that the film both talks about, but also the technologies that are used to make it. The film is really a culmination of a long series of drone experiments that we've done. So I wanted to set this film within a broader context for today. So the next story will really be a montage of clips, some of which that document our popular conception of what drones are or what they're becoming, but also aerial footage that we've collected from my own drone on various expeditions around the world, where the drone has become a way of looking down on sites that we don't have traditional access to. It also includes a series of drone art projects that I've produced, such as the Drone Orchestra, which is a swarm of coutoured or costumed drones that flew with speakers that were broadcasting a live stage performance by the Velvet Underground, footage leaked from military operations, and of course scenes and clips from In the Robot Skies. So I want to explore where drones come from, the cultures that created them, fly them, look through them, and where they might be going. It's the story of a drone, the story of two girls it's watching. These two girls are both 15. They live on opposite ends of the earth. They live at opposite ends of the drone camera. One is real, one is imaginary, one is blown up, and one is in love. scan the fields below, I see her. She's playing in a town I've never heard of, in a place I will never visit, and it's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. And here I am watching another girl, and I keep her safe, and we patrol the towers, and I make sure she doesn't leave. And you call it house arrest. And I'm on a long mission launched back in World War I. And I'm still flying, and I look down on the world, and I am unmanned, and I drift between voyeurism, horror, and wonder, depending on who is operating and how I'm programmed. And what I choose to focus on defines who you are. And in the glass of my flying lens, you see yourselves reflected back. And I first flew from a balloon to decipher the world games below. And on the ground, they build fake cities and they paint trees on factory rooftops. The technologies of vision have always generated new technologies of camouflage. And you have always found new ways to resist, new ways of seeing. And they scrambled to trick me, and they inflated rubber tanks. And this view used to be one of privilege, where to look down on the world came with extraordinary cost and technology. And as we become cheaper and more ubiquitous, this view is now being democratized. And I'm an infrastructure with a new type of agency. I'm a new perspective on the world. I'm a storytelling machine, and I reveal new kinds of narratives. And I tell the stories of who you've all become in this modern world. And she didn't like me very much, but I was just doing what I was told. And here I am carrying Arthur's pizza. the steam escaping from the heated bag that fogs my lens. And hot dog stuffed crusts, that's how you all like them now. And through the window, I can see her on the edge of her bed. And the lace on her bra is like the shadows of the leaves through the tree that I'm hiding behind. And she looks sad as she stares across the room. And she always gets me to deliver her groceries. And she listens for the rumble of my propellers like a child tuned to the green screen's jingles of an ice cream van. And the package smells of toothpaste and hard drives and Red Bull soda. And a million packets of everything fall to the earth in an Amazon hailstorm. And I'm the remote eyes, free from the tyranny of a fixed location. And I've been tasked to survey a new landscape. And I've never seen the world like this before, where our technology is splayed out before us. And from the ground, it's just a white mound of soil, but from above, the earth comes alive with the colors of lithium electricity. And here we drift through Chile and Bolivia, past the evaporation ponds of the world's largest lithium mines. And this is the landscape behind the scenes of all the batteries that power our world. Batteries that are now made light enough so as to enable me to fly. And I like to go to places that no one else can, to drift across the fence lines and across private land. And as I look down, I can see the sacred rivers of India that now run with the colors of the fashion season, as chemical used in their dye processes are dumped untreated to poison the land along their rainbow banks. And from the air, I could always reveal the invisible. And I like to go to places that no one else can. And I'm put to work and I look down on the world with a detached gaze. And I follow the boats deep up the Amazon. And from the air, I no longer see a forest, but I see a timber factory. And here I fly to see the scars of empty grassland cut illegally from the depths within the forest. And they used me against them, the villagers versus the loggers. And I was their eyes in the sky. And now I drift over not a landscape, but now a food lot. And what was once wild can now be counted and measured. And I'm really just a farmer at heart. I like to go on aerial strolls through the fields with millimeter precision. And amateur porn is a bit of a pastime of mine. And I can see you down there in the field. Are you looking back at me? Can you see me all the way up here? Are you watching me, watching you, watching me, watching you? And I watch her meet up with her family. And she's just a collection of pixels. She's a heat signature, a movement pattern. And from up here, a party looks a lot like a training camp. A conversation looks like a plot. And we say it's like looking at the world through a soda straw. Point, click, kill, forget. And the other one stares back at me, and her face is patterns of light and shade that I can process and identify. And she's under house arrest and not allowed to leave. And this is how I see the world for navigation. Where its nuance, its subtlety, is all processed as blank geometries of calibration markers and simple surfaces. And I can't make out the details of your face. And for me, the world is like an animated cubist painting, where every meaningful inch is calculated so as to be effectively navigated, controlled, and managed. And you are all surfaces that my senses reflect off. And in the distance, we can make out the tracery of markings that are scored across the surface of the earth. And these are not evidence of some ancient tribal culture or a forgotten relic of the Nazca lines. But these are the traces of the new tribes of remote sensing. These are the animal tracks of my orbiting eyes above. And satellite-mounted cameras come here to calibrate our lenses. And the skin of the Earth is now a digital test pattern. And like a cave painting, these are the primitive markings of a new culture firmly on a rise. And it was a signature strike. And she looked like she shouldn't. And I wasn't sure, but the view profile was matched to your scenario database. And she was driving with her family. She was driving with her brother of military age. And it was the network, it was the training you got back all the way at Holloman Air Force Base in Nevada. Another world away. Another kind of hollow man. And when I see a target, I send out a laser beam that I call the light of God. And the fire rains down from the sky. And she was 15. And across the globe on the other side of the world, in the tower block in London, she's 15 too. And I can tell she likes a boy in the council estate opposite. And I know what she's thinking. And I can follow her through a scene. And I'm programmed with cinematic behaviors. And I like to frame her just right, perfectly in shot. And drifting above a sea of neon haze, I'm also decorated in the way that you once customized your phones or souped up a custom car. And beyond the military-industrial complex, I am now a cultural creature. And this is me in my glam rock phase, forever clinging to the hope of a revival. Here I'm a different kind of smoke machine. And I like to go disco, drifting like a floating mirror ball, catching the spotlight. And sometimes, like the shouldered ghetto blasters of the 1980s, I fly as a dynamic sound system, carrying speakers and live broadcasting the hipsters of the new city. And I'm a surround sound system that is taken to the air, that is thrown across the city like an aerial orchestra. And the rumble of propellers becomes a new natural soundscape to the city of a new generation. And we fill the air with the digital confetti of your every desire. And the skin of the city is warm, freckled with 1,000 lights, all winking just for you. And the traffic lights flock at rush hour. And we follow you around like drone familiars, always with a smile and fluffy ears and 16mm propeller blades. And when I leave the concert in the streets behind, I head for a battery change. And while I'm waiting, they scroll their names on me, like 80s subway cars in the yards of New York. Here I'm vulnerable. Here I'm theirs. And she takes me over. And she's hacking my signal. She's stealing me away from my mission. And she draws me close. And now I'm hers. And she sends me on an errand to visit her boyfriend restricted to the tower opposite. And now she flirts through the same infrastructure that's designed to keep them apart. And from between the towers, I watch a girl and a guy fall in love. as our journey starts to come to an end, I take the dogs for a walk. And we've all become as ubiquitous as pigeons, nesting on the rooftops and under beds and in garden sheds. And from the air, I like watching you watch the sky. The two of us, one on the ground and one in the air, staring in opposite directions. And the technologies of seeing define who we are. And we understand our place in the universe. We can understand who we are and where we sit in relation to the camera and which side of it we're looking through. And when I flew into a Russian parliamentary session today, I was just armed with a dildo. And here they really like me hanging around. And all it took was just a slap, and I was out the door. But I'm not usually that easily dissuaded. And as I fly ever closer, I am the fear and wonder of all possible futures. I might land, I might not, and I drone on endlessly and autonomously, and I'm your reach into the air and across the world. And in the distance, I see a truck with a young girl driving through the desert. And I see a girl at home in her tower. And in the light of God, there was a flash. And she was 15. And then she was gone.